Mhm.
A last one that this I think it's more easily to talk about now. It's from Peter Pan, and the ask is I would like to understand how Western. I would request discussing how Western population is the most propagandized population on Earth.
I agree it is. What's to discuss?
No discussion. Answer it. Yes.
Is the question why is it, or how is it, or is it just is it?
Perhaps it raises a discussion on how Western population, but I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Nina. I don't know if you want to chime in as to why.
Well, I was going to say that in some of these other places like Russia, people have lived under different ideologies, so they have something to compare to. And they've also, some of the changes took place within our lifetimes. So again, there's something to compare to. So people may be a little bit more cynical and probably a little bit better educated about political topics and just generally the world. I think North Americans, and especially Americans, weirdly, because of the American status as a superpower, though it's waning, they're very, very insular and in some ways provincial. It's a very strange paradigm between, being a superpower, but at the same time being sort of isolated in thinking and perhaps not traveling like you and experiencing the world in the way that you have. I mean, there are other issues with education here too. So I think that's one part of the puzzle where people in these other places, the global South, Russia, etc., are a little bit more cynical. They can kind of look at the way their country's changed under different ideologies. But the other thing is, of course, existing under total ideology. I'm not a sociologist, but it is a sociological term that we've probably, you guys have probably seen. And it's just the bombardment of, a very particular kind of media, the echo chamber that we talk about, the academia, the lower education and public schools, all of that combined creates a worldview where you think you are independent thinking because you may disagree whether it's, Coke or Pepsi, but you're not really going beyond that. And in some ways, sometimes even those of us who are more free thinking than that, it's difficult to escape our own timelines, right? There's a limit to that too. But I think that's another component where the Western propaganda is so insidious, and it's been more mild than perhaps, let's say Soviet propaganda of, the heyday of the Soviet Union, where it's more difficult to discern. It's not sort of in your face. Although now that, a lot of social media and being able to access other narratives and the other side of the story, that's definitely crumbling. I don't know if it's crumbling fast enough. I mean, there's a reason why readership and viewership of traditional media sources is down, and it has been down and seems to still be down and even declining. But I think there are different pieces of the puzzle to explain that. So it's definitely a question that could be explored in an entire new episode. But you're someone who's traveled extensively, and you see it on the ground. You see that difference in thinking. You just mentioned Venezuela and people being educated enough, right, to be able to analyze their circumstances, but also what's coming to them from the outside, and whether these, foreign powers actually mean well when they want to, privatize all their natural resources or something like that. So, yeah, I think these questions are great, but they're sort of topics for maybe another discussion where we can elaborate on them a little bit fuller.